Welcome guys to another video here on the Man United Daily YouTube channel, and in this specials video I'll be talking about the my thoughts and opinions and overview of the transfer window as a whole. As you know, there's going to be a lot of kind of like criticism of the club, etc. So in this video I'll talk in depth about each of the transfer pursuits and also what are the outcomes and what we've potentially learned from the window just gone. So in terms of that, let's go ahead and do the video now. So the first section I'm going to be talking about the incoming. So it's not going to be the longest section, unfortunately. So the first player that really officially came in under David Moyes was Varela. Obviously an unknown talent to a lot of UK fans, including myself. He played in Uruguay, so it's not a lot of coverage, unfortunately. So, but I've seen him a couple of times for the under-21s, as also at the World Cup under-20. So, in that regard, Varela, I think very much for the future. And his problem is perhaps the age of Rafael, who's only 22, and Varela's already 20. So in that regard, he has to be patient because Rafael is still on a developing curve, and establishing himself very well at a highest order Rafael. So in that regard, Varela will have to play second fiddle to Rafael, but you never know, his development in the future could spike like it did to Rafael, and they could be a very competitive area of the field. And another young fullback that we signed on the deadline day, not a lot of people covered it, obviously, because it's again unknown name, and it's Saidi Yanko. Again, I've never heard of the player before. He's 17, so obviously very much for the future. Again, I'll be the first one to admit I haven't seen him play, but from what the newspapers and journalists say, he's a very bright talent and performed well at a youth tournament and had caught the eye of United. So, those two are obviously underwhelming transfers, but we never know how they might turn out in the future. And let's go and talk about our big and only marquee signing, and it's Marian Fellaini. I think there was a bit of it was inevitable that something like this would happen with David Moyes coming and bringing players and staff from Everton. Fellaini, I think it was, like I said, inevitable, but the one frustration thing, I guess, is that United could have paid 4 million less and got him in July for 23.4 million, and saved all the hassle of deadline day and focused on other transfer targets. In the end, I think this was almost a joke as well, because, like I said, that he had a release clause in his contract. David Moyes and Ed Woodward knew about the clause, so it's kind of infuriating how they left it to a very last minute and pursued other transfer targets, even though Fellaini, I think, would have been a very good and adequate acquisition for the squad. Like I said in my past videos, Fellaini probably wouldn't have been my first choice if you were given the options that we were pursuing, Fabregas, Thiago, and so on. But Fellaini, I think, is a necessary acquisition. He adds a bit more bulk, a bit more aggression, a bit more kind of like size and weight in the middle of the park. So I think that will allow others to bomb forward, but Fellaini also offers a really good goal threat with his size. Obviously, his headering is very good, and I think a lot of people don't realise how good of a footballer he is because of just the humongous size of him. So I think Fellaini will be a good addition, and him and Michael Carrick anchoring will allow the four players who are going to be operating in front of him a lot more freedom, not having to track back all the time to help a overlapped midfield. But with Fellaini and Carrick, I think that's a very strong and very solid looking midfield with a bit of goal threat now injected into it as well. But remember, the role of Cleverley and Anderson could be pivotal in some games where we need a three-man midfield. So in that regard, I think it's a bit disappointing with the number of coming in ins this summer at Old Trafford. But again, I think it's been a quite difficult window. But yeah, I'm quite happy with the arrival of Fellaini. Obviously, we all wanted more, but I think with Fellaini, we are a much better looking squad now than we were without him. So now in this second part, I'll be talking about the kind of failures and who we targeted, but ultimately didn't wasn't successful. So the first one I'll be talking about is the one that happened on deadline day. Fabio Contrao was a deal that was much talked about. I thought it was done because I was scrolling through Twitter, and a lot of people said it was done, the paperwork, but then half an hour after deadline day, there's a bit of confusion. The paperwork didn't go down, didn't get sent through on time, etc. So it's been a difficult in that sort of regard. Apparently Contral broke down, cried, whatever. I think he would have added quite a lot to our midfield and also defence, because we do need another left-footed attacker, because although Everett is good, and many of our wingers can operate on the left comfortably, they're all right-footed, so meaning that we don't have the option of always going down to the byline and crossing back in effectively. And he would provide a lot of cover and competition for Patrice Evra as well. So in that regard, I think the season-long loan that was talked about for Contral would have been a really, really good deal. But unfortunately, that didn't come off. I think it's because Real Madrid wasn't able to secure a replacement for Contral. That led to the stallment of that deal. And so that is a disappointment. And the other big kind of disappointment on deadline day was definitely Ander Herrera. That was a complete farce from everyone's point of view. United and Herrera now come out saying that there was 3 representatives from a law firm who came in to do a deal, claiming to be representing one of the parties, and then both parties denied it. Apparently there was cash was there, and then the cash wasn't there, and then the cash was not enough, etc. So it's a really, really complicated issue with this deal concerning Ander Herrera, because David Moyes, I think he had some doubts about paying the whole release clause, which is around £30 million. So, and plus, I thought Herrera was a really good player a couple of years ago, but he's gone a bit quiet, and probably because I'm not a devout follower of Athletic Bilbao. I watch the La Liga in general, but I haven't been catching a lot of Bilbao matches. But I thought that was a lot of money to pay for Ander Herrera, considering the kind of like his development or lack of development in the last few years, where after the under-21 championships, you might have thought he's starting to push the senior squad, but obviously with the senior squad that they have at the moment, it's going to make it very difficult for a lot of great young players to even think about pushing to that national team. So that was, I think, a really disappointing, because I thought Herrera and Fellaini would have been 2 great additions to our midfield. Herrera probably definitely an upgrade on Tom Cleverley, a bit more nous and tactical awareness, but also the creativity that he would have offered as well. And him, Carrick and Fellaini as a midfield trio when it's necessary for tactical reasons, I think would have been a lot more stronger than what we have now. But again, made a bit of a joke of the club, and sends out the wrong message as well. I thought, getting ourselves in this sort of situation where it almost undermines the power and pulling power of the club. And the annoying thing is that Herrera really wanted the deal to happen. Reports saying that he was willing to cut his wages. And how often do you hear a footballer wanting to and have to take a wage cut in order to join one of the biggest clubs in the world, in Manchester United? So I think that underlines Herrera's willingness to go, and I hope we do pursue him in the future if he does still maintain his progress in the Bilbao side. So 2 obvious disappointments on deadline day, and if those two had arrived, then I think it would have been a lot more. The squad would have been a lot stronger, both for domestically and also in Europe. So those two were the high-profile misses of the deadline date from a United transfer point of view. But there was also a lot of missed targets during the window as well. Obviously, we all know about Thiago Alcantara going to Bayern Munich after being linked so heavily with United. I think United at the last minute didn't have the guts to really pull that one, because there were some doubts over his adaptability, about his to the English game, to the physical side. But I think that a lot of that is now really overplayed, because if you see the likes of Juan Mata, Eden Hazard, etc., they're all very not extremely slight, but they are small but agile and clever players. So sometimes I think in England we do have the perception that sometimes the smaller players, Xavi, Iniesta, will struggle in their physical nature. But I think that's where we are a bit archaic in this country, where we kind of misuse the technical ability of these so-called smaller players as well. So that was a big disappointment. I think Thiago not coming after being touted for so long. Sami Khedira, actually, going back to deadline day, said that Real Madrid rejected an offer of around £32 million for him from United as well. So that would have been a lot that would have been a huge statement, because Khedira is still quite regular in the Madrid side. I think he would be in the Fellaini mould, where he's not the most creative player, but he is a box-to-box player, big, strong, German international. So he has definitely a lot of pedigree, around the same age of Fellaini. So I think it makes sense that David Moyes tried to add a bit more aggression in central of the field, but missing out on Sami Khedira wasn't the end of the world, considering that we just bought in Fellaini. And the most public pursuit that failed, spectacularly, was obviously Cesc Fabregas. After weeks of speculation, open bids, Ed Woodward flying back from Australia, nothing came of it again. And Cesc now come out saying that he never wanted to leave, but obviously United seem to have been led down a garden path where it was a dead end, obviously, and they were receiving encouragement from someone, but now it backfires and again looks really bad on the club and stature, and it makes the chief executive Ed Woodward, David Moyes, and the majority of the hierarchy at Old Trafford look very, very stupid and very uncomfortable in this sort of pursuit of a really high profile star. So that was a really disappointing end to that saga, because I thought because of the silence that Fabregas had adopted, there was a chance that he might be coming, but again it fell spectacularly back in our face, and now Cesc Fabregas playing really well in the Barcelona team, starting almost every game. So so that was the most public and most disappointing pursuit, I think, from the fans' point of view. But again, I think it would have been hard to begin with, because of the commitment and the history that Fabregas had with Barcelona. And there was another pursuit of another Everton player, Leighton Baines. Obviously, Baines, a well-known target to a lot of United fans, but that failed after the risory bid from United of £28 million for Fellaini and Baines together. And after that, I think Everton knew that they were about to lose Fellaini, but were determined not to lose another of their bigger stars. So Baines, I think there's still a possibility that David Moyes might go back for him in January. It all depends on whether he signs a new contract with Everton. Baines, I think, at 29 will be looking for a move to United, because he knows he doesn't have many years left at the very top, and probably wants to play Champions League football season in, season out, and challenge for trophies. And I think he has a better chance, obviously, at doing that at Old Trafford than he would at Goodison Park. No disrespect to Everton, obviously, but again, I think Baines, 29 years. I think for £15 million, I think David Moyes would have done it. Anything more, there's reservation about his age, obviously. So I don't know whether this one will run through to January. I think Ana Herrera's saga will, but in the case of Leighton Baines, it's going to be difficult because he turns 30 next season. So it's going to be one of those stories where David Moyes, does he want to bite the cherry, or does he want to wait and develop, another left back and potentially get a player like Luke Shaw, etc. So in this instance, I think David Moyes would be wise to just look and wait for 6 months into January and just see and how this situation develops. And just the last, comment on the story that I talked about in the last transfer video about Mesut Ozil. Obviously, a very good player, and a great one at that, actually. Number 10 role, completed a sensational move to Arsenal for £42.5 million. I couldn't believe my eyes when I was on holiday, scrolling through Twitter with my cousin, who's an Arsenal fan as well. We just looked through, and I really couldn't believe that Arsenal has brought and done a coup of this magnitude, because Ozil, a great player in his own right, one of the best playmakers in the world. Going to Arsenal, spending that amount of money, you have to give a lot of respect to Arsenal and Arsene Wenger for having the guts to pull out that deal after a few summers of doing not a lot. So there's been a lot of speculation whether Ozil waited. Graham Hunter, a great source of Spanish football, constantly, kind of like a guide for United for transfer targets. He said that Ozil and his representative waited for any last minute bids from United, but that never came. So Ozil bit the bullet and just went to Arsenal. Obviously, I think Ozil will definitely strengthen Arsenal and will bring them a lot closer to the top three, and also Spurs. But again, I really don't see Arsenal challenging for the title this season. I think they still need a better central defender, also a striker as well. But there's no doubt in Arsenal's attacking third. So that is definitely a threat from Arsenal now, with one of the best playmakers in the world joining their squad. Obviously, it's disappointing, but I really don't think it was a really necessary signing in Mesut Ozil. Obviously, would have been a great addition to the squad, but I think David Moyes assesses that we already have Shinji Kagawa and also Wayne Rooney, two of the best number 10s in the world, already at his disposal. So he probably wouldn't value Mesut Ozil as much as perhaps an out-and-out central midfielder in Ana Herrera. So in that regard, I think it's disappointing that we didn't pursue a world-class player like Ozil, but again, we already have two world-class number 10s in our rank. So I think it is understandable that and why David Moyes didn't perhaps pursue Mesut Ozil as hard as some people wanted him to be. So what have we learned this transfer window? I think the first one, that obviously the most potent and the one that sticks out the most, is that Ed Woodward, the new chief executive, have learned how to deal with football transfer the hard way, really, because the job that David Gill and Selex formed in the last 10-15 years, I think it's really been that underlined this transfer window, because at times obviously we are looking from the outside inwards, so we're not going to see the nitty-gritty of every single detail, but it seems like Edward was a bit out of depth and was a bit uncomfortable in his first summer as chief executive, after making statements saying how United were willing to spend 60-70 million pounds on players in order to help David Moyes. Obviously that didn't materialise, and a lot of people has given him a lot of stick, and I'll be the first one to hold up my hand up and joining that criticism, but I think that we have to give him a bit of time. I think sacking him is a bit premature. Obviously, it's a very hard job. What David Gill's done, forming a lot of contacts. I think Ed Woodward is a good chief executive. I mean, look at the commercial deals. It's a bit of a joke that how many commercial deals we brought in this summer in comparison to the players we've brought in. So Ed Wood, I think, is a good chief executive and obviously knows what to do with money. So hopefully he will improve in January, and I think David Moyes and Ed Woodward will be looking to strengthen quite a bit in January, if not making a lot of detailed plans for next summer, so that we don't have this farce once again. And I think he will have now the knowledge of what to do, not to leave it all on the last day. And I think we all make mistakes, and we're all human. I know that's a bit kind of like soppy now, taking a bit away from the football side, but again, I think it's been a good experience in that case, and Dave Moyes for now will know the kind of like how to do business, and hopefully Ed Woodward will know more what to do next summer on the next window as well. And there's been a lot of questions raised about whether we need a director of football, and with the kind of like people like Franco Baldini at Spurs doing a lot of great business deals and stuff like that, and Liverpool used to have one, Damien Comoli, etc. So these are the men who deals with transfers, who kind of like operates between the chief executive and also the manager, so that all acts as a halfway house between the two, and so that takes another responsibility off the manager. I think all this is a bit too reactive due to the kind of like inactivity of the summer transfer window. Obviously, David Moyes no doubt would have wanted to strengthen, but I think United won't be installing a director of football for a very long time, just because of tradition. Always have one main man at the top, and that's David Moyes now, and the chief exec will just work alongside David Moyes and David Moyes only in order to bring in new transfers. So I think that will be the structure that the club will be sticking to, because it's a successful formula. But again, it's been disappointing overall, I think, because of the so much expectation that was happening because of the transition to this new era. Everyone was getting very excited, and we were promised a lot. I hope we're not going to be hearing a lot more of this sort of like promise a lot, not getting a lot sort of business like Arsenal used to do. Obviously now Arsenal spending the bucks now, £42.5 million for Ozil, definitely a wonderful player. I think Arsenal probably will have the signing in the summer in that, but I think Fellaini, for what he's worth, technically not as brilliant as Ozil, obviously not the same type of player at all, but I think for the price, I think Fellaini will add a lot of squad and will be as pivotal as Ozil is potentially for Arsenal and Fellaini is for United. So I think Fellaini overall, our only marquee signing, but it's a very necessary one, and I'm very happy that Marouane Fellaini did come in the end. So there you guys have it for another video here on the Man United Daily YouTube channel. Obviously a very, very long video, I'm sorry for that. But I just want to give my whole view about the transfer window and the failings and what happened, to this kind of farce and, almost joke of a window itself. So there you guys have it. If you like this video, please give me a thumbs up, comment below on any of the stories. What do you guys think about Ed Woodward, etc. And subscribe to the channel for more content as well. So you can also check me out on Twitter at ManUnitedDaily, or go to the website ManUnitedDaily.com. So thanks for watching, guys, and I'll see you in the next one. Cheers.